Goo goo gaga. You got the SpongeBob. You got these. You got goo goo ga skibbity toilet. Now, to be clear, this is not talking about children's board games that are intended for children. This is talking about more general audience-based board games that are adapted to be more suitable for the pre-kindergarten age children. Excuse me, sir. I'm 8, not 4. I think I'm old enough to play grown-up Yahtzee. And the first series of adaptations we're going to talk about are for the crossword game Scrabble. And obviously, it makes sense why you'd want to adapt this, because in focus group testing, have you seen how kids react when they see a Scrabble tile? The fuck do I do with this? That's not fun! Probably would have made sense to do that bit last. And now compare it to the reaction when they see the Scrabble Junior tiles. Your child's first crossword game. How many fucking crossword games are there? It's Scrabble. Shit. Anyhow, let's enumerate the various differences between Scrabble and Scrabble Junior. Now, personally, for myself, I think the number one thing that kids should learn is literacy. And I think Scrabble is a perfect platform, especially with it being a game and it being competitive. It offers an excuse for kids to actually trying to try. So when you open up the board here, you'll see that it's quite a lot larger because kids don't have quite the dexterity that us adults do when putting these microscopic tiles down. The size of the board, despite the board being bigger, is actually slightly smaller at 13 by 13 instead of 15 by 15, but the same amount of tiles are used, which I would think could make it more difficult, but I don't know, I'm not a child, despite the allegations. Now, the tiles themselves look quite a bit different from the Scrabble tiles. There are no point values on them, they are just the letter in bold sans serif font. See, in Scrabble Junior, they've subtracted the math out of it to focus purely on the words. A lot of Junior adaptations tend to subtract the math, but not the reading. I'll get into how I feel about that in just a moment. Now, something that I think is quite a good adaptation is that each word in Scrabble Junior is worth 1 point. So, you don't need to be thinking about the topography of the board or what best letter would best fit on each square or not. It is all about trying to make words and problem solving and getting creative with tricky situations like that, I guess. Points are denoted with these radically printed pizza slices. They've also got some totally wicked designs on the board itself, and encircling these designs are various examples of words that begin with common letters. Ape, arm, axe, anti-disestablishmentarianism. Ha, you think I was born yesterday, kid? That's a J. Sorry, DQ'd? I think this version here is a very suitable, slimmed-down version of Scrabble Junior. It gets the general core of the game across for parents to play it with children, and they can actually play competitively because there is still strategy to it. But what if you weren't satisfied with that? On the other side is a pre-rendered grid where the only goal is to just fill them in with your own letters if you have them. Now, this is not teaching kids how to read or teaching them to think on their feet or to problem solve or anything. This is just matching letters. Now, letter recognition and knowing what sounds they make is important for learning how to read. Try and find me someone that denies that. But this is not gonna teach your kid how to read. It's not gonna teach them to think dynamically. It's just matching letters. So do not play this. If you have a 1-year-old, don't play this. Because it's a very niche demographic that this board is trying to reach for, actually. Because by the time that kids could actually physically play along with this, they're old enough to actually learn to read. But as I said earlier, I think Scrabble Junior is a great platform for kids in pre-kindergarten to kindergarten age to learn how to read. Literacy, as I said, is very important to me. It's declining among youth. Bring back Scrabble Jr. I think it'll help. It'll solve everything, even. But that's not the only version of Scrabble Jr. that is out there. Scrabble Sentence Game for Juniors. Two-sided board for both beginners and advanced juniors. Advanced juniors, that's almost a senior at that point. This was released when Scrabble was still owned by Selcho and Richter before they got cannibalized by Parker Brothers and eventually Hasbro. Now on the inside here to boot, it looks like a vaguely similar board to Scrabble Junior. You know, you got an 11 by 11 grid, no triple word or double word or anything, just a standard ocean of space to play in. But let's take a look at these tiles. Yeah, you see, the Scrabble tiles in this version have pre-written words already on them, kind of like those poetry tile magnet things that you see pretentious people have in their house. Now, I'm not gonna pretend that I'm, you know, some sort of expert when it comes to how to teach kids how to read or anything. But I feel like having the words encapsulated as one single word, number one, it teaches kids to think of words as a single entity and not being comprised of letters, which in turn hurts their ability to spell correctly. Number two, anything is a sentence, really. Paul's rides brown man with the hot cat. That's 8 letters, 50-point bonus right there. I'm not sure what the delineation for actually making a coherent sentence is. You see, it is a lot easier to define what a word is officially than what a sentence is. There is no universal test for what a sentence is. It looks like they tried to prevent you from doing literally anything as a sentence. There were a couple of tiles that have pronouns on them, or names. Pronouns and names, yeah. That are capitalized, which I guess insinuates that you must use these at the start of your sentence, and also you must have a tile that has a period on it to end your sentence. I just don't see the value in this, because you can still just indiscriminately switch around any tile. I don't see how you have to think strategically about this, or even a way to lose the game, considering you could just put down any gibberish. I guess this has the advantage of actually practicing reading the words on the tiles, but this just isn't it, man. And you better believe that they have their other side that fits squarely within the zygote to fetus range of age appropriateness. There's not even any strategy here, you just match the words. Not a very good educational game, and if you can believe it, not a very good game either. There's a reason why you don't see this version printed anymore, and it's just kind of a rare obscurity that you've probably never even heard of. And the next version we're going to talk about is Junior Monopoly. Now, I'm going to talk about the versions I own because this game changed quite a lot. Now, the Monopoly board, you know, you already know it. I don't even need to open it up, but I shall for comparison. You know, it's iconic. It's what it is. The Monopoly Junior board is half the size of the Monopoly Senior board, I guess I'll call it. What is strange, though, is that you'd think this had significantly less spaces on it, but it just has 2 properties per Monopoly, really. Like, there are modern versions of Monopoly, like special variations that come out that only have 2 per each Monopoly to keep it simple. So it's not that much smaller than the original Monopoly. You still have every color set. Now, for the none of you out there that don't know, in the original Monopoly game, their denominations are iconic. All the denominations we use every day, like 1, 5, 10, 20, 50, hundreds, and 500s. We all use those, right? And fuck the $2 bill, I guess. Well, the Monopoly Junior said, actually, no, not fuck the $2 bill. While we're at it, let's add in a $3 bill and a $4 bill and a $5 bill. You see, they divided the property values by about 100, presumably to make the math easier. But if you know how numbers work, that doesn't make it easier, it just makes it less intimidating. 100 plus 100 is the same as 1 plus 1, and by simplifying it like this, you're not teaching kids how to play it, you're just converting it over to a different analog of the same mechanic. In this version, players have different player tokens too. They've got the roller coaster cart, the Ferris go-round, the sideways bookcase, and the slipper, instead of the original, you know, metal cast ones. And You know, that's fine. And in this version, there are no houses or hotels, but these ticket booth looking things. In this version, you're trying to build your own... what do you call them? I didn't have a childhood. Amusement park. When you land on a space, you get to buy that property for the amount listed on the board, and then you can spend more money to add on a ticket booth, or even two if you're feeling fancy. Throughout the board are chance spaces, which will have a randomized event on it, like, go to the Whirlwind Water Slide. And if someone owns that property or has ticket booths on it, then you pay money respective to how much is printed on their property deed. Does that sound familiar? Because it should. It's just Monopoly. There is nothing that is actually materially changed to be simplified. If you get this as a child, then you can get Monopoly. All the same mechanics of the game are here. Now, you might see that as a plus, obviously, but that also works the other way. If you are too young or too stupid to understand how Monopoly works, then you won't get this either. This is not sufficiently simplified to coalesce with a younger demographic. It's just smaller. But it's still the same game, so what's the point? It actually is fun, it's just, you know, changing the terms you use. Oh, cool. I take that back, actually, because it actually is fun, because it's just the original Monopoly, just in newspeak. And the next game we're going to talk about is the iconic Clue. Now, I keep mine hermetically sealed because I bought it from a shady guy in a mall, and when I opened it, it had tons and tons of, I don't know, the fucking Black Plague in it or something. So, we're not going to take a look at this version necessarily, and instead show off the looking version from the mid-2000s. But I guess it's the same era this one's from, so it adds up. Now, in the original Clue, the objective is to solve a murder. Now, obviously, that won't fly by the children over at Clue Jr., so the objective is to find out who stole/ate a cake. Again, it's the same sort of thing of taking the same concept and just bowdlerizing it, and it makes a little bit more sense here. You know, murder isn't exactly the most kid-friendly topic out there, but, like, come on, like, 6-year-olds can't play Clue? It'll traumatize them? Now, this is another game that I would reckon would work quite well in an educational context, as it'll teach kids things like deductive reasoning and strategy and critical thinking. If you somehow don't know, you're trying to solve a murder by asking a series of questions and then eliminating possible suspects or weapons or rooms to narrow down your guesses. And then you can make an accusation and check inside the case file to see if you are correct. If you're correct, you win. If you're incorrect, then you lose the entire game. I think Clue is very nicely themed. Having the actual, you know, pad of paper and pen, you kind of feel like you're an actual detective, asking questions, investigating the scene. However, there are a couple drawbacks in Clue that I'm sure will be addressed in Clue Jr. At the beginning of the game, you were just kind of shooting in the dark, you know? Is it the dick sucker with the dick man with the dick in the dick room? And then if anyone has any of those cards in the game, which is, you know, why they had to censor it for the Clue Junior edition. But I mean, it's a classic, it's time-tested, so let's see the Clue Junior edition. Now, as we saw in Dollar Tree board games, they changed the Clue Junior pad of paper to just having pictures on it with words beneath, so that way you don't have to know how to read to play this game. Now, this was something I criticized poor Dollar Tree for, but apparently in Clue Junior they also have the board half-size too. Sorry, Dollar Tree, hope you can forgive me for that one. There are different props that go in each of the rooms, but something you might have noticed, and the reason why I pulled them out at all is that they are significantly cheaper than their counterparts. These are actually custom molded, painted figurines that you get in this version that was out at the same time. This one you just get printed cardboard. I guess kids just couldn't handle a cast steel pocket cannon. Now stop me if you've heard this one. It's the same game, just smaller. I take that back. There's actually a couple things that are slightly different about it. Even though I criticized it just a second ago, the reason why the characters are able to come out of these stands here is that each of them are connected to a time, to Slender Man, I guess, or to a prop. And instead of using cards, you would use these props and characters themselves to investigate things. I think it's kind of neat that they have it down like that. It's actually kind of easier to conceal, too. But this is like 1% more simplified for kids to get. I think it is a good game for kids to play, to work on their deductive reasoning or strategic skills. But also, like, they can play Clue. Board games, by and large, are for children anyways. You can make the materials cheaper, you can simplify the boards down, you can remove the reading or the math, but this is just the same game. So if you can play this, play Clue. It's better. And if you can't play Clue Junior, then you were too young to be on this channel and should fuck off. Did I hear someone say Yahtzee? Well, that's what it's time for. If it's not Yahtzee time, it's Nazi time. And I don't like the sound of that. Now, everyone in their aunt knows how Yahtzee's played. This is actually fairly well used. These are not mine. This is another family's deranged ramblings here. My aunt knew it so well that it was the last thing she saw before she died. We still own a Yahtzee card that she was playing while she fucking died. Isn't that metal? I'm saying that Yahtzee's a fucking kick-ass game. Stuff like this is really what I like to see. This is all from a previous family that really enjoyed their time with Yahtzee. It's a timeless classic. It's kind of a game you play in the background as a platform to have conversation upon. You don't know, the object of the game is to get poker hands style dice hands. So right here I have 2 pairs and a single. So I'm gonna roll that, hoping to get a full house. Now the main vehicle behind this game is luck, but there is a tiny amount of strategy and pre-planning you have to make, and risk assessment too. You know, if you get a bad roll, which one of these do you want to cross out? It would be a good game to teach kids to think ahead, and also there's a decent amount of math they have to do in it. It'd be a good way to test their mathematical skills. Now, I wouldn't say that this is the most educational game. In fact, it's so simple it, hardly even is a game in itself. But there's opportunity here. So let's check out Yahtzee Junior. Here's the Sponge Boy edition, so it's gotta be the best one. Now, something that's interesting is that I'm pretty sure every version of Yahtzee Junior is branded. There isn't a nondescript, just Yahtzee Junior outright. They all have different characters or video games on them. There is no stock Yahtzee Junior. Unless I'm wrong, I'll put it on screen if I am, and if so, I'll just, leave it in anyways, because I like spreading misinformation online. Now, a notable difference right off the bat is that there are no numbers on any of these dice or anything. These are just enumerated with characters from the show. We've got Mr. Krabs, Pink Thing, the Snail, Sexy, Squidborb, Sponge Boy, and on one of these, we got the Germ. Now, depending on how many people playing, you get 5 turns, 4 turns, or 3 turns per person. On each turn, you roll the dice and see what you've got. Right off the top of the bat, it looks like I've got 3 Mr. Krabs, a Patrick, and a Plankton. Now, Plankton is a different mechanic that did not exist in previous Yahtzee. If you can believe it, there was no Plankton die. What this means is that this die is now out of the game for the remainder of my turn. What you are trying to do is to match your character to get as many as you possibly can. Gary counts as a wild die, so this counts as a 4 of a kind. So I've got 4 Mr. Krabses. Now, say that someone was playing against me, they'd have a green token, and they would have maybe 2 Mr. Krabses. So I scored better than them in terms of Krabses. That's pretty good. Now this is a neat adaptation. There is no math or anything for kids to get frustrated over. While I think math is important, this teaches the strategy of Yahtzee and thinking ahead. Squidborb. Oh shit. It's really heating up now. Come on. Can we do it? For the Yahtzee Junior Championship. Really what you're going for in the game is the SpongeBobs, as they can make or break a game. Just as they can make or break a show. Oh, you should totally watch The Wire, man. I mean, it's like some of the most metal shit you've ever seen. Yeah, but is there a sponge in it?
This look like money, motherfucker? Money be green.
No, it's even better. This is what Mr. Krabs pays me with.
Niggas, you crazy?
And the last one, sequence. Something you guys might have noticed up to this point is that I have a fair amount of older versions of board games. I collect them from thrift stores and such because I like the vintage of old board games. This version of Sequence is brand new, and the reason why is because Sequence is one of the worst board games out on the market because it is just pure chance, and it's not intended for children like a pure chance game like Candyland or something is. It tries to resemble strategy, but at the end of the day, it's just luck of the draw. So everything in here is factory sealed because I just had to buy this for the game, and I'm gonna keep it the way it is because I'm gonna return it because it's that bad. Now open up the Sequence board, and what will you find? Other than disappointment, you'll find a matrix of cards. Shuffle the cards and see what you've got. The 2 of diamonds. Now this will allow you, if you're, for the example, the green character, to place a chip on the 2 of diamonds. This is kind of similar to Gomuku or something, where you're trying to get 5 in a row horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. So now I am hoping for a bingo of 5s of clubs, wild, 5 of diamonds, etc. 2-eyed jacks are wild, and 1-eyed jacks allow me to snatch a token and put it back in the bag. How exciting. There is nothing here that is strategic at all besides the 1-eyed jacks, because then you see, oh, well, he's about to get 5 in a row. Yoink. Fuck you, buddy. Yeah, there's a lot to this game, as you can tell. How offensive is it to say that it's challenging on the box? What are you, fucked up? It's just bingo. Just play bingo. You don't need this gay $20 fucking paper. Oh, well, now I can't return it. Before we get on to the Sequence for kids, because there's a lot of strategy to draw on it to teach kids, there's this other version. It's not officially a version or anything, called Poker Keno, which is so much more honest with itself. It's not pretending that it's a game of strategy. It's just bingo. You just try to get a bingo with it, or a variation you can play on this, try to get the best poker hand, like pair of jacks or triple jacks. This is a game that I actually own because I respect it, even though they were too cheap to include playing cards. I respect that they present it as a Keno bingo style game, not a strategic game. So how do we simplify this? Sequence for kids, ages 3 through 6. Because imagine a 5-year-old playing that. They would just be totally lost. Now, like we saw with Scrabble Jr., they make it larger, but instead of playing cards, it's just pictures. Playing cards are already just pictures. You just match the picture to what's on the board. This actually would be, I'd reckon, even more complicated, because I don't even... How many blue foxes are you seeing out there? What? Now, something you might have also noticed is that this game is a lot smaller than that other thing I don't even want to pull it out because I don't remember how big it was. But because it's smaller here, you only are trying to get 4 in a row instead of 5. Which, I mean, makes sense, but also making the play space smaller and lowering the amount of cards that are in there increases the probability of drawing dead. So there are a lot of games you could play with this where there's no winner because the card that you need has already been dealt out before. Wow, that's just genius design right there. So the first card is that thing, Trevor the Tiger. Oh, Goody me! It's by the free Sequence for Kids space. I'm glad that I made that decision to go there. I feel so smart right now. Francie the Fox. Oh, why would I do that? Francie the Fox is all the way over there. I'm losing now. Sequence for Kids is the prime example of just play the original. I mean, Monopoly Junior and Clue Junior are ostensibly the same game, but this is literally just the same game. Recommended by Bill Barrett. You know, kids love Bill Barrett. I'm glad that it's got his endorsement on it. And that's all I've got for you, kiddos. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I do hope to see you in the next one. A snazzy outro there, if I do say so myself. Goodbye. False alarm, everyone! False alarm! There's another junior game. A second junior game has hit the Too Bored to Die studio. Now, if there's one thing that I know kids love, it's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I should know because I did a poll of one, childhood me, and 100% of the results came back as, yeah, it's pretty cool. I showed this off in game show board games as being a pretty faithful adaptation of the game. You just pull a trivia card, you put it into the slider here, and then you use these sliders to reveal the answers and then respond. Which alcoholic beverage includes hops and yeast as its ingredients? You see, this game's way too racy for children, which is naturally why they had to make Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Junior? You see, we had opportunities to become a millionaire as a child. You have no excuse to be poor right now. So what are we looking at here? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Junior? Now already, this is an improvement on the packaging by slimming it down and simplifying it. They have the same holders, too. Uh-oh. It's just the same game again. But this actually has justification for it, because if you can believe it, kids don't know a lot about alcoholic hops and yeast and all that. So these questions are more geared to the single digiters. With questions every child knows, such as, what is a calliope? Obviously, I knew that when I was 9. I saw SpongeBob.
No one can resist the sweet sounds of the calliope.
Niggas, you crazy?
In what country would you find the Po River? If you've seen Kung Fu Panda, I think you can answer this. It's a neat way for kids to experience Regis Philbin, as I'm sure every kid should, to have a natural development into adulthood. They've also hue-shifted the branding to be hot pink, but I mean, it's just to delineate it from the original, so that way when you're having your Who Wants to Be a Millionaire nights, you can catch someone if they're trying to swap the questions with the junior version. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. There's another trivia game I should talk about. This is Trivial Pursuit, the Young Players Edition. Now, I'm scared that this might be an improvement on the original Trivial Pursuit, because that game is hard as shit. It's the same game as, you know, Trivial Pursuit, except it's been torn into pieces in my version, I guess. But as you can see, the board is literally the exact same. The only difference here is the questions to be more suitable for a younger demographic. What kind of rock music tries to outrage people with its ugliness? You know, every kid should know they're a big punk rock fan, of course. I don't know how that's even in the junior edition. That should be in, like, the fetus edition. The categories here are different from the original version, too. We've got television, stage and screen for all the theater kids, the nightly news for all the kids that keep up on politics, publishing, lives and times, and RPM, of course. I don't know what rotations per minute has to do with anything here, but, yeah, this is probably easily gonna be the version that I play in the future, because I am horrible at Trivial Pursuit. So, this is the only one that's a clear and obvious improvement on the original. Not that the original's bad, I'm just stupid. There you go. You caught me. You got an audio, you got audio and video. There you go. You guys have audio and video of me saying that. You can leave now. The video's over. Goodbye.